Tantus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue my discussion on the forgotten collectible card games of old. They're either forgotten because the company doesn't produce them anymore, people don't play them anymore, or some kind of combination of them in between. Maybe some people still play them somewhere in pockets, but for whatever reason, these games have not only fallen out of popularity, they've mostly disappeared from the mainstream. So let's talk about the one we've been discussing, Star Trek, the customizable card game. We, of course, have been talking about its rules. And we were talking about that first phase, the drawing and playing cards. So this is an important thing to discuss. When I'm playing a card, my opponent has all right to look over that card, read over it, understand what it is. I have to show them that card. They can look at it however much they want. After I play a personnel or equipment, I can turn it face down, concealing it. Now, this is concealed from my opponent, period, unless a couple of things occurs. One of the things that may occur that would reveal it to my opponent is I use an ability of this personnel or equipment. Either I use a keyword, a skill, some kind of ability, some kind of game text. Whenever I use something of this card, the opponent has the right. I will reveal it, and the opponent has the right to look at that section that I am using, to understand what I'm doing. But I only have to reveal as much as I am being used with this card. The other way is if an opponent plays a card that would affect one of mine in a non-random manner. If they would affect a specific faction or specific grouping or specific skill that one of my personnel would have, I would have to reveal it to them. They'd have to see that. But again, either of these, the opponent is only looking at the section that relates to that. That means they only get a glance of that section. If it's something in the middle, I'm like, oh, this is right here. Now, granted, I could try to conceal it or not, but I'm only showing them enough to see that it matches with them. If they're taking their time looking at it, they're not looking at the proper section. They should know where they're looking. You are allowed to only reveal what is necessary for them to understand what it is being affected on this card. Now, you can draw cards during this phase. Drawing a card costs you one of your tokens. But you can draw as many cards as you want. Multiple cards. It's still one token for one card, so you can just effectively spend multiple tokens for multiple cards. Now the fact is, drawing and playing cards can be done in any order. I could draw a card and then play it. I could play a card, then draw cards. It does not matter. As long as I have the tokens available to me to actually play the cards that I'm getting or to draw the cards that I want, I can keep going. An important note, though, is as long as I have cards remaining in my deck, I have to use up all 7 of my tokens. This means that I have to make sure to either spend enough from my hand in order to use up these tokens, or if I can't spend cards from my hand or use up the tokens, that I have an unusual amount of them, or I choose not to, I will have to draw the remainder of my tokens using draw from my deck. I effectively have to make sure I draw up my hand there. When we're done drawing cards, we move on to the next segment. Execute orders. Now this is using cards that you already haven't played. Effectively, you give them orders to do something. There are 4 general types of orders. Beaming, moving a ship, attempting a mission, or what's called other orders actions. Now, on a general term, a card that I have in play can do any number of orders on my turn. Any number. I can keep giving it orders to execute, and as long as it successfully executes those, it can go on to the next one. It can continue to execute orders. There is no limit to the number of orders I can attempt to execute during this portion of my turn. There is some restrictions, though. I can only execute 1 order at a time. That means as soon as the first order is done, then I can start a second one. I have to go in order of the orders. Now, granted, the order that I'm choosing the orders, completely up to me. But every time I choose an order, I can't do another one until afterwards. This includes the type of interrupts that say order on them. If it's an interrupt that says order, it is treated as an order, and therefore I cannot interrupt another order. I have to play it after I'm done the current order and make that my new order that I am doing. Now, a ship or personnel can become stopped over the course of executing orders. The game text or another card will say specifically when this card may become stopped. A stopped card is stopped until the end of your turn, and a stop card cannot be used to execute orders. So there is this limitation that if your card that you've been using for all these orders becomes stopped, you can't use it anymore. That's the only thing that's stopping you from executing these orders. Now, beaming allows you to move personnel and equipment from a mission or to a mission. This requires a ship at that mission. So once I'm at that ship, at that mission, I can then use the beaming, which there are 3 types of beaming. First off, the beaming is, and when you beam, you can choose any number of personnel or equipment to beam. So first off is beaming from a mission. I effectively can take any number of personnel and equipment from this mission and put it on my ship. I place them in a stack directly below my ship card. So I'm just picking them up, putting them on the ship. The opposite is true, though, too. I can take it from my stack on board my ship and place them crosshatch on the mission. I can drop down personnel and equipment to a mission. The other way is I can beam it from ship to ship. If 2 ships are at the same mission, I can move it from this ship to that ship. It is important to note I cannot beam to an opponent's ship. However, I can beam to any headquarters and mission in play, regardless of who played it. That's an important one to note. Though, it is also important to note I cannot beam from mission directly to another mission. Now, the other action is moving a ship. This is moving a ship from one mission to another. Moving a ship requires it to be, well, staffed. Requires it to have personnel aboard piloting it. Now, there are 2 requirements for a ship to be, well, piloted, to be staffed. All its icons of the ship, the staffing requirements, must be met by personnel. 1, it must be met by all the personnel on board your ship. Also, 1 personnel of the affiliation of the ship must be aboard that matches that affiliation. That means that whatever ship it is, if it's Klingon, I need at least 1 Klingon on board. After that. Now, each staffing icon must be done by different personnel. So that means if it has 3 icons needed to pilot it, I need 3 personnel in order to staff this ship. It is important to note also that the gold staffing icon can be used in place of the silver staffing icon, not the other way around. Stopped personnel cannot staff a ship. So if a personnel of yours becomes stopped, they can't be there to staff a ship. But that's it for today. So I continue diving into the depths of the rules of Star Trek, the customizable card game. I first finished talking about the draw step, where I talked actually about, well, drawing cards. And the fact that the tokens that you have, the 7 that you have to spend a turn, you need to spend them. You can't save any. You either have to spend them on cards from your hand, or you have to draw a whole lot of cards up. Regardless of either, that's the major requirements of this phase. Then I moved into the execute orders phase. I, of course, talked about the general rules of it, the fact that you can execute as many orders with the same card as long as it doesn't become stopped. It can keep doing it. You can do infinite execute orders as long as you still have non-stopped things with you. I, of course, then began talking about with the beaming action and how that functions. And then I started talking about the moving a ship action. The fact that it needs to be staffed and then you can move it around. In the next episode, we're going to finish talking about the moving a ship, and we're going to talk about the other 2 types of orders you can execute on the course of your turn. And then we'll finally move in and finish up the round. But if you have any questions, comments, anything you want to say, anything you think I left out, please leave it in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe at Church for the channel, the Empire, the work I do. If you want to show some extra support, you can always check out my Patreon, link in the description below. There's some great rewards there. It helps to grow and improve the channel and the Empire. But regardless, until the next time, I bid you farewell.